Hello. Hello. Who's here? Okay. Oh, hey, Joseph. Oi. Oh, I see a black screen. There we go. All right. Ugh. Okay. Got my ding, 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 ding. What am I doing? Oh, yeah. Minimize that. Maximize this. Share screen. And then ding, 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 ding. That, I think. Okay. All right. Seem to have gotten myself organized. Coolios. How do I get? How do I get? I hate it when you share, you suddenly can't see anything else. Um, how do I get back to? Oh, there. Ah, okay. There we go. Here we go. Okay, there's the attendee. There's chat. Oh my word. There's Q&A. Oh, there we go. There we go. Hi, people. A couple of minutes waiting for others to join. Yep. Cool. People are joining. Awesome. Let's give it another minute. Hi, everybody. Well, yeah, hi, Andre. Hi, all. Yeah, good. I was about to say, why doesn't everybody just start saying hey and introducing yourselves in the chat? I'll just start off. Kind of, my name's Asim Hussain. I'm the executive director of the Green Software Foundation, and I've been involved in Impact Framework since the start, and based in the UK. Um, and yeah, Joseph. Well, Joseph, give an intro to yourself as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Joseph Cook. I am a project manager and developer on the Impact Framework. I've been working on this for about 7 months now. Previously, I was an environmental scientist for almost 15 years. Specifically, I was writing climate models for well, I was writing components for climate models for how light is treated over ice and snow. I did a PhD in that back in 2012, and at some point realized that I liked writing the code more than doing the academic side of things. And yeah, and I'm also based in the UK. That's kind of like that's what brought me here.
Yeah, learning more and more about you every time this intro kind of yeah. Um, so yeah, so why don't I mean feel free, everybody, just we'd love to find out more about you. Like share about like I see people have started already, let us know kind of who you are, if you want, who you are, where you are, why you are, uh, when you are. No, just let us know a little bit of details about yourself because it's lovely for us to find out kind of like who's interested in the impact framework and why you're interested in the impact framework. That's good stuff for us. We oftentimes just work in a bit of a bubble internally. Um, what we're going to go through today, this is a kind of a weekly thing that we do. We just had it's a Q&A session. So feel free if you've got any questions to pop them in the Q&A panel. We prefer if you would pop them in the Q&A panel rather than the chat panel, because then that kind of like surfaces as a question. And then we'll kind of answer it live, or if maybe we might just type in the answer as well. This is a prep session for the hackathon that's coming up. We just use these sessions just to, if you're new to the hackathon, just really quickly introduce you to what's going on and what the hackathon is. Today, where's my notes for today? Today I'm gonna go into because the hackathon starts next week. Today I'm just gonna, and next week as well, I'm just gonna spend a little bit more time because now we're getting into the crunch point, just letting you know what the processes are, what do you need to do, what do you need to click on, what the expectations are, and it'll give you a little bit of more of an insight kind of what happens once you register, because certain things are hidden behind a registration. Um, then there's also kind of like development happening on Impact Framework. We're slowing down this week. We're gonna code freeze at the end of this week. We were gonna code freeze at the start of this week, but we found some bugs. But we're gonna code freeze by the end of this week, and I think you're very happy with some of the functionality that's made it into this version. And Joseph's going to be demoing some of it today. If any of you have joined and you've already submitted a hackathon idea, we're going to open up the floor. Raise your hand if you want to kind of be brought on. We'd love to speak to you and find out about you. If you've got any questions about your solution or the process or impact framework, we'll bring you on and you can ask those questions. And we just love to meet you. And if there is any time free, I don't know if there will be. If there's any time free, we will go through a bit of. Sometimes me and Joseph just use it this time just to show you what it's like to work on Impact Framework, and we'll probably just spend some time refining a ticket or two and diving a bit deeper into one or more of the functionalities. Um, cool. York, yeah, if you want to jump on. Yeah, so Jorg's just mentioned, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I do apologize. You can correct me when you come on. But yeah, we'll bring you on later on, and we'd love to find out, chat to you more about your project idea. Um, and Andy Simmons has asked in the Q&A, are there any examples of end-to-end flow of the Impact Framework? I've read the GitHub repo docs and the 5-minute demo, but I'm unclear how I'd apply it in a real project. I'm most likely missing something, but it would be great. So I'll skip ahead to, but like one of the things I would recommend, Andy, there is kind of documentation in the repo, but to get the latest and greatest, and this is the same for all of you, head to uh, copy. So if you head to, let me make sure I'm getting everybody here. If you head to the Impact Framework, that's my wife's speaker cube. It's my anyway. Um, if you head to the docs website, which I'm sharing in front of you right now, and you scroll down below, oh, those should be grayed out. We've got some training sessions coming up on Wednesday. So Andy, especially for you, we'll take you through kind of more of an end-to-end pipeline. You'll get to see how it works. We'll also, you'll see me trying to write a plugin. Usually, no, the plugin side usually works actually. So yeah. Oh, Joseph, am I not sharing something?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just also wanted to point out that in the IF repository, we have a directory called examples. And in there are about 30, maybe more than 30 example manifests that you can run. And they show how well, some of them are very, very simple, like single component, single model, but they go through to very complicated sort of multiple levels of nesting in the component architecture in the tree, sorry. So you can also explore the example manifests in the IF repository as, and you can even just sort of use them as templates, but they definitely work well as you know, to see how you build up a manifest and just run one that we've provided.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. We're definitely building up that examples repository. Definitely have a look at that, flick through it. There's lots of example manifest files in there to go through. But let me quickly go through for the benefit of people who have perhaps just found the hackathon recently and are just wondering what is this thing I've signed up for. So the Carbon Hack is something that we run let's say every year. This year it's in from March 18th, which is in almost a week away, less than a week away. Less than a week away? No, exactly a week away. Almost a week away. To Monday, April the 8th. So you've got 3 weeks to hack. We have, I think, about eight. I'll see. We'll see when we get to the page. I think we have 8 sponsors right now for the hackathon as well. So we've got I believe a $40,000 prize fund, which we'll be distributing as well to the winners. Carbonac is this year is all about Impact Framework, which is an open source project that we've been working on in the Green Software Foundation for a while, and it's a framework. It's a framework that if you were to build enough plugins for it, can measure any carbon impact, any environmental impact that you want. So we're really looking for people to help contribute some way to the Impact Framework. You can hack solo or in small teams. That's absolutely fine. And I'll be showing you how to like register your hackathon idea and how to actually go through the process as well in this session. We have a couple of different prize categories. Let's start with best plugin. Impact Framework is just a framework that runs plugins. That's not pretty much all it does. It does a lot of stuff, but it basically handles a lot of that for you. But most of the functionality in Impact Framework, most of the power is in the plugin ecosystem. So what we're really looking for is best. One of them is best plugin. A plugin that best supports and enhances the Impact Framework ecosystem. We haven't quite figured out exactly how we've been waiting for the sponsorship to finish to see how much funds we get, but most of the prize money this will be the largest prize category in terms of cash prizes. Um, then the next, not necessarily in terms of cash prizes, but the next in terms of explanation is Beyond Carbon. And that is a specific type of plugin, a plugin that enables people to measure impact beyond carbon. So a plugin outputs some data. So a Beyond Carbon plugin will be a plugin that outputs, that returns an impact that is not carbon. That may be water, maybe air quality, whatever environmental, however you perceive that, that is what the Beyond Carbon category comes in. And it's up to you which one you sign up for. We have a best content category, which is now defined as the best educational content published about Impact Framework. It can be a case study applying to it, applying Impact Framework to a particular domain. So you could be building no plugins and just using Impact Framework to measure something like an AI workload or a Kubernetes workload or something along those lines. Or it could actually just be a direct tutorial, like, hey, this is what I learned about Impact Framework. This is how I teach it in to this audience, or a video, anything really that is kind of educational content, but it includes case studies. It includes you just applying Impact Framework and documenting and writing up. That comes in the best content category. We specifically added content. We wanted to add a content category this year because we wanted to encourage contributions from non-technical audience as well. So if you just somebody prefers to write rather than code. And the next one is best contribution. Now this has had a quite significant evolution over the course of the hackathon. We've been seeing so many wonderful solutions, and we wanted to make sure that everybody has a price category that works for them. And so we've adjusted best contribution, and now it's any software solution that helps make Impact Framework easier to use for users and developers who are building plugins. So this is if you're building, plugins are like you're building something that works directly with Impact Framework. Best contribution is for anything really. So you could be building something that takes an output and publishes it somewhere. You could be building something that helps generate the files. You could be building a UI on top of it. Whatever it is, if you're building something that makes Impact Framework easier to use, you could be building developer tooling, integrations to Visual Studio Code, anything. That's where best contribution comes from. So If you're not sure where you kind of fit in, you probably fit in best contribution. I'll put it that way. We also have prize categories for under 18s and best undergraduate. So if your entire team is made up of under 18s, there's a prize category for you. You will have to nominate a guardian who is over 18 to, we can't give under 18s money according to the rules of where we're incorporated, but we can give your guardians the prize money. And also best undergraduates. If your entire team is made up of undergraduates, again, you can have as a prize for you, and you can win that in addition to the other prizes as well. And if you are working for an organization that is sponsoring the foundation, you can still take part. We just ask the judges from your organization to not judge your project to make sure there's no conflict of interest. But that's perfectly fine if your organization is sponsoring it, you can also compete inside it. Um, Yeah, I we may have actually capped sponsorship now, so we may I believe we capped it at 8, but I suppose we will never say no to money. But if you are still interested in sponsoring, it's a $5,000 sponsorship, and you get one seat in the jury, you get a logo, you get featured. There's actually a panel. In fact, I think we have capped it at 8, so you might have to ignore this. Might have to ignore this. We might not have enough space for any more um, sponsors. But if not, reach out. So yeah, again, starts on March 18th, finishes on April the 8th. You will have to submit your solution by midnight GMT, April the 8th. And then there's judging, and then also a closing event and ceremony on the April the 18th, which is where we announce all the winners. Um, so let me just, um, if you've not already signed up, I'm not sure how you got here if you didn't sign up, but if you haven't signed up, this is the main website for the hackathon. Head down there, hit sign up. This adds you. Make sure you add it to the main mailing list so you get mailed about all these things. Um, and again, you can sign up for those training sessions that we've got. So we've only got 2 more left, and they're this Wednesday. So I highly recommend if you're kind of like, what is Impact Framework? Please attend one of these training sessions. We will take you through the code, everything. We've got a 1 hour tutorial that takes you through everything step by step. Please attend this Wednesday, and we've got 2 sessions, one in the morning. Well, for me, the morning, for us, the morning, one we call like Asia friendly hours and one in US friendly hours. So this there should be something for everybody there. Let's see who are the sponsors. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. There's another one. I can't remember, and I do apologize, but they've. Oh yeah, there is another one. So I believe we have Cap Tower 8. These are wonderful sponsors. And a number of these organizations have been actively taking part in Impact Framework since the beginning as well. So we deeply grateful for them. These are people and organizations who have been looking at measurement and therefore wanted to support this hackathon because the solutions that come out of this are solutions they may want to use inside their organizations. We also have 2 community partners, so Microsoft and Electricity Maps. So Microsoft has kindly offered significant Azure credits. So if your solution needs some cloud compute, Microsoft will be willing to offer you free credits to use the Azure platform. And similarly, Electricity Maps is a supplier of data about grid emissions. And so they've kindly offered free access to various data sets that they have and their APIs. To get access to this data, you have to have registered, and I'll show you that in a second. But we once you register, we'll let you know. And if you let us know that you are interested in taking up the Microsoft and or the Electricity Map software, we put you in contact, and that's an arrangement you have with them, and they give you access and keys and the like. But these are some very generous offers that we've had from our community partners, Microsoft and Electricity Maps. I think with that we can really open the doors to do a lot of work, a lot of great work in this space. Um, and what's the next thing I wanted to show? I've shown this. This is the documentation website. So again, it's IF. I posted it earlier on, but it's if.greensoftware.foundation. And here you can read our latest docs. These do update fairly frequently, so please keep an eye on this, and we will let you know when there's been any major changes. And there is some major changes coming through right now. Um, and finally, let me take you to the main hackathon website. If you sign up to the hack.greensoftware.foundation, if that's the only thing you can really remember to do today, do that. We'll send you the emails and all this stuff will be sent to you. But if you do have a bit more interest in digging a bit deeper, head to this is where we're managing the hackathon. It's all managed via a GitHub repo. We do everything on GitHub, so we thought, can you manage a hackathon on GitHub? Is that possible? So we're giving that a go. Um, so all the information is here. You can find the links from the bottom of this page, or I actually just recommend if you go to the top and you click on Wiki, there you'll find a lot of great information. The really things I recommend you read is the participant guide. So we've got two guides. One, if you want to lead, if you've got a project idea, you want to propose it, this is how I would do it. These, I don't know if I made it clear, but these are videos that you can click where I go through and actually take you step by step through what to click. Um, but if you want to lead a hackathon project, we've got a guide for you there. And if you're just interested in joining an existing hackathon project or finding what it is you can join, you click join a hackathon project, and there's a guide for you at the bottom there. Um, we have a process here. You have to sign up. So signing up is when you sign up to the site here. This is the sign up. We do have to do that because then we kind of know who you are in a way. You can get then this is some steps we have here. Then you can kind of we call it get inspired. So you might be coming in with a clear idea of what it is that you want to build. You might need a bit of inspiration, and for that we recommend going to our discussion section here. Um, and in here, we've got if you go into developing an idea, there's a bunch of ideas that have been proposed, and you can see we've proposed some, members of the community have proposed some ideas, and this is a way that you can just get inspired. Like, what do I want to build? Like maybe something here will inspire you for something to build. If you do have like more of a clear idea as to what it is you want to build. You can go straight away into proposing a project. So how you propose a project is via GitHub. Am I logged in? I am logged in. So you GitHub issues. So here are the projects that have already been proposed. If you want to propose a project, you click on new issue, and this is an issue. You click on hackathon project. And then just please like fill in information about your idea. It's very important. Like you have to list out who your team are because we don't know who your team is. So we have to know who your team is. Otherwise we literally don't know who you are. We don't know who to give, who needs to click on everything. If you're recruiting, let us know and we'll list you as recruiting and other people can find you. If you're not recruiting, you've got a team, great. You have to list all your team members here. Please put their GitHub handles so that we can match everything. We're using GitHub for everything, so we need your GitHub username to match you into the database. If you've got any questions about your idea, put them in here, and Joseph and I will weigh in and try and answer the questions and really guide you. If you've not really, and very important, you have to like select the project, the prize category you want to go for, and that helps us guide you a little bit because depending on the prize category, we might give you little bits of different advice. And you don't have to have do not have to have a fully fleshed out idea. You can have a very basic idea. And if you're not sure, we'll help, we'll guide, we'll support you. The the other thing I was going to say, yeah, you don't have to provide anything. Some people are starting to be a bit coy regarding their submissions, a bit more secretive and private, and that's absolutely fine as well. If you want to keep it all in house and then just finally reveal at the end once you've built it, perfectly fine. But I want you to know that we're here to help if you want some help. We fully understand the impact framework's very new, and you might not, understand kind of how it works. So we want to really help and support you with that as much as possible. So take advantage of us. Um, that's just proposing an idea. So very importantly, to be very blunt with you, we don't know who you are. We can't communicate with you. We just know that a human being with this username submitted a an issue on a repo. We don't know who you are. So once we start getting more serious about your project, what we do need you to do is which one did I? Yeah. So what we do need you to do once you propose a project, build a team, however you want to do that. Sometimes we share it, put the recruit. If you're recruiting, we label it as recruiting so that other people can find you. But build a team. But once you're ready, we have a process called registering. You need to register to officially take part in our project. If you've just got the issue, you're just an issue. You have to register to officially take part. Registering is this link here. Um, Here we go. And here, just fill out info, and every member of your team has to fill this out. Your team name, put the URL for your project issue, the one before, your first, last name, email address, GitHub username again if you can. Let us know which country you're in. We have certain restrictions regarding who we can pay money out to. We're a US-based nonprofit, so we have to, like, for instance, we can't pay countries with I don't know how to define it. There's certain countries we're not allowed to spend money to. So please take a look at Hackathon rules page and let us know and we'll guide you. If you are the if you are affiliated with one of these organizations, for instance, one of the ones that are sponsoring us, please let us know. And we will just ensure that that judge isn't the judge that's going to be judging you. If you want, you can provide us some information, Twitter and or whatever we call it, and LinkedIn. And very importantly, you have to agree to the terms and conditions, and then you register. Once you register, like we actually know who you are, and like very importantly, we know your email address, so we can communicate on GitHub. We can only communicate with you publicly. Once you've got your email address, we can communicate with you privately. And then what we do is we send you an email with Joseph, myself, the rest of the hackathon team. And then once you've registered, you've got a private communication channel with us. And you could just honestly just ask us private questions, things you didn't want to post on the public forum. But also very importantly, this is how we can connect you with electricity maps or Microsoft or any one of our other community partners if you want to take advantage of them. This is also where we give you information about how to submit a project and guidance for that as well once you're fully fleshed out. So it's very, very important. We need you to register because without registering, we don't know who you are and we can't communicate with you. And we can't give you offers or anything like that. And fundamentally, we can never give you a prize because there's no way of giving a prize to a GitHub username. So it's very, very important that you register. You just have to register. You don't have to register before the start date of next week. I recommend registering as soon as you're ready to register. And you have to register before you actually submit the solution because there's no way for us to know who you are. So as long as you register before the end of the hackathon, that's the absolute latest you can register. But we recommend registering early because then we can give you advice and you can ask us questions and all sorts of other things. Um, okay. Um, if you missed something, you can join next week. I'll be going through a lot more of this stuff again next week because next week is like hackathon start date. So I'll be going through all of it again. Um, and when you're finally ready, and I have a horrible suspicion that we never implemented this page, or it's private. Yep. So we haven't implemented this page yet. We will give you the submission link once you are registered and once the hackathon starts. We just want to make sure that people aren't submitting before they're registering and creating any confusion. So we're going to make sure we only give the link to once you've registered, and that forces the things to happen in the right order that we need it to happen in. Um, but what will the submission look like eventually? What we will eventually ask you to do is effectively your ultimate submission will be, I'm just going to pick this one just because it's in front of me, this issue. So we're going to give you some headings and we're going to say, edit this issue to have these headings. We're going to ask, what was your inspiration? We're going to ask you to create just a short video of demoing your solution. We are going. This is uh we do need you to point to like what you've built. So point to the code, and there'll be other headings. But effectively, we're going to give you the guidance like flesh out this issue. These are the headings we need. Um, that is once you're ready there, we'll give you a link, another form, and once you're completely ready, you submit again, and then we get that whole thing ready for the judges to review. So when the judges are actually going, like, what are the judges going to be looking at to review your solution? They are going to be looking at your issue. So you're eventually going to edit this issue. So it's your solution description with all the information, and the judge is going to look at this. But we'll give you guidance as to exactly what we're looking for. We're just tweaking it a little bit right now, just to make sure we get everything that we need. Very importantly, and this is something I would encourage you to take a look at soon. Well, definitely take a look at everything that's written here, especially the rules and especially the code of conduct, but also prizes and judging. So in this page, we've got, what are the different prizes that we're going for, that you can go for. Um, but also very importantly, what is the judging criteria? So for instance, for the Beyond Carbon prize, um, the judges are going to be asked to measure you for overall impact, educational value, and this concept of synthesizing. So every judge is going to give you a score for each one of these. So read them now. Understand how you're going to get judged. And then when you're crafting your solution, keep that in the top of your mind. So you craft a solution which kind of meets these criteria. When you actually submit your your write-up, there'll be a heading for overall impact, educational value, and synthesizing, and that's where you can kind of put your content in for how you think, how you believe you've met these criteria, and the judges will then read that, watch your video, and give you a score based off of that. But be careful because each one of these uh, prize categories has slightly different judging criteria. So best plugin again has overall impact, then it has something called opportunity, then has something called how modular it is. Best content again, overall impact, but also clarity and innovation. And best contribution is kind of innovation and creativity, alignment, and kind of user experience. So that's yep, and that's basically the judging criteria. Um, I think, yeah. And once you've submitted, the on the April the 18th, midnight, we'll take everybody that submitted. Those go to the judges. The judges will review them, and then we'll be contacting the winners, and then we'll contact everybody. Well, everybody will know by the time the award ceremony what happened. So we'll be bringing on the people for the award ceremony, and then you can see if you won. I think that's it from overview of the process. Um, I can see Joe's just been busy answering away. If there's any other questions, jump in and we'll still answer them. I think then we're going to move on now, aren't we, Joseph, to we're going to dive into a little bit of impact framework. We've just implemented a really cool piece of functionality. So Joseph's going to demo it, and I think it's a functionality that will explain um, some uh, yeah, we'll just help explain some core functionality of it. So Joseph, why don't you
Yeah.
take it away?
Okay, thanks. Let me just share my screen. All right. Hopefully you're seeing my VS Code.
Yeah. Do you want to zoom in? Control plus. Me, that's all right. Oh, for me, you've gone on mute, but I don't know if, hang on.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. No.
Okay. So yeah, we're going to take a little look at one of the new features of Impact Framework that we just shipped over the weekend, actually. It's the CSV exporter. Now, we did have a sort of MVP CSV exporter implemented already. All it did was just flatten the YAML and dump it into a CSV. This actually does a little bit more. Um, really sort of moves towards being able to round trip from YAML to CSV and back with unique identifiers. But let's just run some and you can see how it works. It's also really useful because it plays nicely with the aggregate function, and you'll be able to see how aggregate works because it's going to be all laid out in the CSV. So we can start just by looking at this manifest file that I'm sharing on the screen. It's called Asim demo because it's been prepared for a demo that Asim's going to give later in the week. It's a relatively straightforward manifest file, but it does have quite a few plugins in its pipeline. And I just wanted to point out a couple of things because if some people have been using IF before the refactor and they're still using it now, there might be a few changes that you'll notice in the manifest file that are worth just being aware of. And also to call out, there is a refactor migration guide in the IF repository now. So if you're one of those people that was using IF before, you might want to just take a look at the migration guides. Very small changes, but nevertheless, they're all enumerated in, it's just called refactor guide in the main IF repository. One of those changes is this field in line 8. Now, if you want to use the output flag on the CLI to save your output from the IF to a file, either a YAML or a CSV, you also need to just add this line here in line 8 to just output config. And all it contains is just an array where you just state what file types you want to save to. So in this case, we're providing YAML and CSV, and in the CLI, we've got the output flag with a file name stub. Right now, this is how it works. We're going to update this. Realize this isn't the greatest UX, but this is going to be updated. But this is how we use it today, right, until further notice. We're also providing this hash at the end of the file name stub, and this instructs the CSV export plugin what metric to isolate and dump to CSV. Okay, so we'll see how that works in just a second. So that's the first thing I want to draw attention to, is just this block of output config. We've still got aggregation just like before. In this case, once we've computed our tree, we're going to aggregate the carbon metric. Both the type is both, so that means we're both going to do horizontal and vertical aggregation. Horizontal being taking each time series and condensing it down into one single representative value. And vertical, or tree aggregation, is summing across the tree, so one component with another with another. The way I find it easiest to think about the horizontal aggregation being condensing an array down into a single value, whereas the vertical aggregation is condensing multiple time series or multiple arrays into one array. But again, we'll see it in a second when I actually run this. Several plugins in the pipeline. There's group by. Group by is actually a new feature that we shipped recently as well. This is a way to reorganize your tree by keys that you're interested in. Let's say you have multiple instance types or multiple regions that you're running your application in. You can use group by to separate your tree out into multiple components for each of those keys. Again, we'll show how that works in a minute. We've got operational carbon, what time, which is the source of the grid carbon intensity, TEEDS curve, which takes CPU utilization and TDP and returns energy for a CPU. Cloud metadata, which takes the region, the instance type, and returns back a load of metadata about the processor that's being used and some other kind of metadata about the cloud instance. And also this mock observation plugin, which is a really interesting one because this allows you to generate kind of dummy data, but to a very realistic format and a very realistic structure. And you've got a lot of control over what that input data, what this sort of synthetic data looks like. So in this example, we're providing a start time and an end time and a duration for each time step. Then we're defining that we want the dummy data to have to be structured like this with these components. So two servers, each with a cloud instance type and a region. And then we're using these generators to state what type of data we actually want for each of those components. So we're going to have, well, this is actually just a fallback. We don't actually need this one. But we have cloud vendor, which is just going to be a constant applied to every component. And then we're going to randomly generate values for CPU utilization between 1 and 99. So the first plugin is just going to generate that synthetic input data and then feed it down the rest of the pipeline through all the other plugins. And then finally, time sync. And time sync is something we had before that's just super useful. But basically, if you've got different time series in each of your components, time sync will go through and snap them all to a common grid. So everything has the same start, the same end, and the same time resolution. So everything's aligned perfectly in time across all the different components. So we put all that together in a pipeline. I'm actually going to comment out time sync here because I know that for this demo, we've already got synced time and it can just be a bit faster to run it without. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. Okay, it's finished. So I can go to the outputs file, find asimdemo.yaml. So this is the YAML output. We can see that the outputs have been appended here. We've got the synthetic data from mock observations and then the outputs from cloud metadata, from watt time, returning the grid carbon intensity. CPU utilization was one of our randomly generated dummy data. This is all coming from the cloud metadata. This is all coming from cloud metadata. And then, okay, finally, we've got CPU energy from TEEDS, and ultimately we get carbon. Then we've got our aggregated carbon. Then our next component with exactly the same outputs in, aggregated value again. And then this is the aggregated values from those two children, which is really difficult to describe in words and quite difficult to just grok from the YAML. So what we also have is the CSV file. And hopefully, thanks to Manashak, I've now added a CSV renderer inside VS Code, so it's easy to see. And what we can see here is the tree, but represented in CSV form. So the child here and child here, and the third child, and then this is the root of the tree. So the root doesn't have any additional children. This is the first child, and then the two sub-children underneath. So this is really this. Huh?
Most importantly, if you look at so basically the server 1 and server 2's carbon, because everything's a tree, it gets summed up into West US 3, which is 12. Yeah. Do you have any of the time series? I think might be useful to show.
Yeah, I've got a better.
Okay.
So I prepared this
Gotcha.
because this has actually got nested children, so it's more interesting. And I've just collapsed all of the actual data so we can see the structure of the tree. So the tree itself has got child 0, child 1, and child 2, but then child 2 has got its own set of children, child 2, 0, and child 2, 1. I can just quickly run that file as well, and we'll see what the CSV looks like. So what did I call the nesting?
This is when I mean, YAML's useful, but it gets hard to conceptualize some of this stuff without seeing it in a CSV file. Yeah, we can see it because we look at the YAMLs all day, but yeah, with the CSV, it makes things a lot easier to understand what's.
Yeah, especially when it gets more deeply nested. It's really difficult to, and also because the outputs are kind of at the bottom of the YAML file rather than kind of with each component, which is a little annoying. But with the CSV, it kind of solves that problem. Right, so we have the tree, and then we have child 0, child 1, and child 2, and then child 2's children, child 2, 0, and child 2, 1.
Mhm.
So with the aggregated column, you can see the sum of the child two's children is provided in child two. So 0.081, 0.081 is 0.162. And then the sum of those two and child zero, so all three children, is added to the root of the tree. The 0.161, no, 0.162, and then 0.081, 0.081 is 0.32 something. You can see how that's aggregated up. So that's kind of it, really. That's the
Well,
how the CSV export works.
so just shows. I think maybe we might have all. I think we'd look at. There's also because you mentioned earlier on, like the column two is also the aggregation of three, four, five all the way across as well.
Ah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah, good point, good point. So we've also got, yeah, so this is the root of the tree. The tree has child 0, 1, and 2. Aggregation is the sum of those, but that's also true for each time step. So like I said, we've got the aggregation that condenses a time series down into a single value. Well, if you look at the row across here, you're also getting well, excluding that column, you're also getting the aggregated time series across here in the row. And then the aggregated column is the condensation, the aggregation of that aggregate down into a single value. So it's kind of row-wise or column-wise
yeah,
aggregation, much easier to conceptualize in this sort of table form than it is in the YAML.
yeah. Still a little bit challenging, but yeah, still lot is still a lot is in the YAML. But I think the important thing here is that if you actually so cell 22 is actually the total carbon for everything in the tree. So if you're just
Mhm.
looking to calculate and just calculate a number for everything, you'd say, okay, my whole whatever it is I'm calculating, it's 0.32 grams of carbon. But then you can ask yourself two questions. You can ask yourself, well, hang on, which of my components in this tree are the ones that's just generating the most emissions? And you can say, well, actually, it's child two. But actually, hang on, child two is actually made up of subcomponents. So I think this is here, everything's the same, but you can narrow down. That's why it's so useful having a tree structure because you narrow down into where it is. And if this was if you grouped all of your processes by region, it might say US East is my most dirtiest region. And you, okay, that would tell you that. But by also aggregating over time, you can then say, well, when is US East most dirty? Oh, it's at 3 p.m. on a Thursday. Let's have a look in there. Which process is the one on 3 p.m. on a Thursday that's causing? So that's actually and I think this is where things get very interesting. Once you've got the CSV export, you can start playing around with that tree. You can, I don't know if you're going to show that, but you can regroup things with the group by plugin. You can say, well, instead of grouping by region, group by department, group by application, group by whatever you want to group by, and then you can surface up and bubble up other bits of information which might hint to you as to where the emissions are. Because I have to say, like one of the things that we believe in the GSF is that measurement for measurement's sake is there's no reason for it. Like we're measuring to try and like find the carbon smell or the impact smell so we can narrow in and figure out what to work on. So that's kind of why this is like I'm super excited now that we got this. So aggregation makes sense. But I'm making noises. But yeah, this is really yeah, I'm loving it. This is really, really good.
Yeah, yeah, you explained it much better than I did.
Well, multiple viewpoints on the same
Yeah.
topic. Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, yeah, let me just if we just go back to this one, do we yeah, so we do have group by enabled in this one, so I can show you just quickly how that works. Um let me just find the output file for it because we already ran it. Yes. Okay. Yeah, okay. So we've provided our config for group by. Now, group by is one of the kind of built-in models for IF. So you don't have to include it in the you don't have to initialize it up here. Oh wait, yes you do. Sorry, sorry, my mistake, my mistake, my mistake. You do need to initialize it up here. You provide group by in the initialization field for like you do with all the other plugins. And then you provide some node level config that says, I want to regroup my input data by the cloud region and the name of the component in this case. But you could choose anything. You could choose any of the keys to group by here. And what you get in the end is a tree that is reformatted to first the name and sorry, first the region and secondly the name. So you separate these out into different components of the tree, and that means that you get a different set of outputs for each of those components. So if we might have started here with just a flat array, and maybe you've got multiple readings for multiple metrics for the same timestamp because you're getting them from two different cloud resources or in two separate regions at the same time or something like that. Well, group by is the way that you can programmatically separate those out into completely separate components. So you get completely separate outputs and completely separate aggregated metrics for each of those things. And so it's a kind of way to manipulate the architecture of the tree to get the readings, to get the outputs that you want at the granularity that you want. Anything to add, Asim?
No, I think that's it. You explained it well. It's yeah, it's exciting that we're getting I'm really glad we got CSVX for
Yeah.
this time. It really helps explain some of this stuff because yeah, we yeah, aggregate. We've known what aggregation meant for a long time,
Mhm.
but I've always it's always been challenging to demo. So hopefully, that's explained it to you. If it has, like give us a thumbs up. Let us know if we've
I still find it quite
uh,
quite difficult to explain in words.
yeah,
Probably need to do a few more of these workshops to practice the description a few more times, but
yeah,
certainly having the tabular form helps
mm, yeah.
definitely, and the combination of group by, aggregate, and CSV export does feel like quite a big unlock. Feels quite powerful.
By the way, I was reading a book yesterday, and a word came out is isochronism. Isochronism. You know that word? Yeah. It's
Well, I know what isochrones are, so maybe.
oh well, isochronism is when I think it's linked to time sync. It's when you create a time series with equal buckets. Your isochronism, and it's opposite to synchronism or something like that. I've forgotten what it was. But basically, I thought that was a kind of like an interesting if we want to introduce some terminology here. I know one of the things is that just everybody listening, like a lot of this of what we're building is like it's so new that we're inventing terms as we go along. And that's kind of exciting but also daunting at the same time. So yeah. We've got 10 minutes to go, and we did promise, we did offer, I believe it was who was it? Dario? No, Jorg. Or I don't know if Jorg's still on, or if if you're still on, put your hand up, or wave your hand. And I don't know how that works. Oh, he is. Do you wanna? I think Joe's just got the magic powers to bring you on and have a discussion. Let me get or maybe you can even bring up his issue. Um,
Hello,
ah, yeah.
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, great.
How do I pronounce your name? Have I done it a very bad job pronouncing your name
No,
or
no, fairly good, Jörg.
Jörg? Okay.
Funny German name with the umlaut, but great. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
I was just wondering. I do not have a team yet,
Hmm.
but I posted an idea. So maybe can I also share my screen, or can
You
you
can share it, or Joseph, maybe you want to share it, or I don't mind.
can
Like,
you share the issue?
yeah, do you see the issue?
It's 88.
Yeah, I'll repost it for you, Joseph. Here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if generally this idea
Mm.
could be worth could be worth following closer, and if it's worth trying to find a team. I had two people from my former company where I asked, or three people, but two already declined. So I'm not sure if I
What's
will be
wrong
able
with?
to find a team. So the
So
idea
go on.
was that we could maybe create a plugin or two plugins probably to integrate the impact framework directly with some load and performance test tool. I don't know if that could
Yeah.
make sense.
No, it does. Makes a lot of sense. What was your yes? Yeah. So would these
Yeah,
be tests that were checked in perhaps with like a project or would this be yeah? How would you say it?
yeah, I'm not sure how to implement it, but from what
Mm,
all I've been learning, and I'm not the techie guy. That's the problem. I'm more a
mm,
non-technical guy. That's
mm,
why I definitely would need a team to work on it. But the idea could be, I mean, the value of it is very clear to me at least. I
yeah.
would think um, one of the challenges you have been describing before, and that is described generally from the methodology of measuring software regarding the carbon impact, is the boundary of the software is often quite unclear now.
Mm,
When we have performance testing and performance load and performance tests, usually, at least if those are well thought through performance tests, the teams have a very good idea about those boundaries already,
mm,
and they have a very repeatable setup and a very structured
mm,
input ramp up of the test and so on. So it should be very repeatable. And for that, I could imagine if we give the teams back, additionally to what we're usually looking for is more
mm,
the response times
mm,
or the throughput of the software. Now they might, first of all, it can be simply an incentive to also know about the carbon footprint,
mm,
but also it could even be used the reverse way. You could use your performance tests to measure if some improvements that you're aiming for this piece
yeah.
of code actually has the effect that you've been looking for. So that
So,
was the idea, if we would be able to fetch all the input parameters from
mhm,
these from the performance scripts. That's probably inputs for the timing and for the also for the nominator of the SCI likely.
mm,
And then
mm,
the next challenge could be, so that would give all those inputs directly out of the performance script. Then we would need some more integration, probably with some monitoring. So I don't know if there are already some monitoring plugins available. I've seen the proposal for a
yeah.
Prometheus plugin, but I don't know if there's anything there already.
There's nothing there already. Yeah, we're excited to see some integrations there. Can I ask you a few questions?
Sure, sure.
So, when it comes, it's funny that you proposed it because I was actually thinking about this last night. So, when so these performance scripts, when you do these performance tests, I presume it's not just all running on what is it all running on one machine, or are you making requests to, are you setting up like a set of servers and then sending things out to all of them? Like, what are you testing something that's on one machine or many machines?
Well, I'm currently not working for the company anymore, but
Mm.
at my last company that I've been working for, these were performance tests run against the cloud. So we had
Oh.
cloud systems, we had cloud software,
Hmm. Hmm.
and also the performance tests were running um, most of the times in the cloud towards test systems in the cloud.
Okay. That's a bit more challenging because then you have to actually, as you say, you've got to like send them it's like a benchmark. You've got to send them run your benchmark, which is whatever your load and performance test. You've then got to be able to query these external systems to get observations back and then convert those observations into impacts. If I was to propose like a slightly more slimmed down version of this, if there is a type of this test which you run just locally on your machine, I know that makes kind of less sense, but maybe this could be a phase 1 to a phase 2. That would actually be fairly reasonably simple to do. Is just I would create a plugin that almost the configuration for the plugin would be a script to run. It would run that script, monitor it locally because it knows everything. It can monitor it, you can capture the CPU utilization just of whatever's running locally. Once that script finishes execution, it then passes out of that plugin a series of observations about CPU utilization and the CPU that's running on. And then you can use the rest of those plugins, like for instance, the manifest that Joseph just called, to kind of take this locally running thing and turn it into Carbon. That could be something that's kind of just buildable with the technology that exists right now. Post hackathon, I think you'll have more options because that Prometheus plugin will hopefully exist and other ones. So you then might be able to kind of do something a bit broader, but kind of right now, I think you just have to think a bit smaller because there's a limited set of plugins. I'd also just say one like very interesting thing about what you mentioned, and it's because you mentioned the SCI. Like when we were designing and having conversations about the SCI, it was designed specifically to be able to measure kind of use cases like this. So if you have like a benchmark script or a load of performance or something that kind of stays the same over as code changes, your benchmark stays the same. The SCI was kind of designed around that. You could have a carbon per your script, and it could be like,
Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
And so
Yeah,
that
I
is
mean
extremely
the
powerful. Yeah.
yeah. The scope of this, I mean, I would probably restrict the scope itself anyway more to
Mm,
really the plugins interacting with the performance test tooling and keep that fairly generic. That would
mm,
be maybe
yeah.
the best goal, because then it can be mostly reusable. So it's not about one specific performance test that is run in
Mm,
one specific company. It should be more kind
yeah.
of generic, the idea to pick one of those open source performance test tools. Those are the three that I know of
Mm, mm,
and that we have been using in the previous company. There might be others as well. Maybe with some others it would be even more easy to
mm.
also have actually the kind of the results out of the impact framework calculations be actually really sent back to the performance test tool so that you have it as part of your results.
Oh, I
That could
see.
be that could
Right.
be charming,
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
I was thinking of sucking those in and having as part of a manifest file rather than outputting it out. But yeah, I thought it's either. I thought the big question for you is like, what observations can you easily gather? That is the
Yeah,
limiting factor to everything that we do here. Is
yeah.
if you can get an observation, you can usually do something with it. But if you can't get that observation of something, then well, there's nothing you can do. But we're at time. But and Jorg, I'm actually I'll post on this as well. I'm actually because I was honestly thinking about this last night because I was trying to think to myself, is there a way of building something so open source projects around the world could run impact framework and calculate an SCI score for themselves? And I was thinking around the area of this. So it's kind of interesting that you raised it and you raised your hand today. So I think that's serendipity. I'm gonna like just comment on this and give you some thoughts that I had. I think this could be very interesting. By the way, I'm not a judge, so like even if I
No,
said
that's
I'll just like guide you. But yeah, I
yeah,
think
yeah, that's very clear. It's I just wanted to see basically if it's worth it all, kind of
yeah,
trying to follow.
yeah.
The next challenge would then be to find a team. That I don't know if I could make that before next Monday.
You don't have to have
So
the team. You don't have to have the team by next Monday. The most, I think, like for an online hackathon, it's kind of weird. Like, what does a start date mean for an online hackathon?
yeah,
We just the most important date is the end date. So as long as you kind of submit something by the end date, that's the most important thing. But what I'm happy to flesh this out. I'm happy to make. I'll share it as well on my social networks, and we'll see if you can get you a team together. You're
Great, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. I think we're at time now. Joseph, anything to add before we close?
Nothing else from me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Please join again next week if you want to get more info. I'll go through everything I went through today in more detail next week. So that'll be the day for actually like really starting this process. We're really excited. I'm excited to hear about all the solutions, such as solutions like yours today. So yeah, please, good luck next week. Catch you later. Bye bye.